Hey everybody, I want to talk a little bit about drinking wine and alcohol, and what does Judaism have to say about that? What does Hebrew religion, what would that say, what would Yahwism have to say about alcohol and wine? Well, if you look in the Old Testament, it's very much sanctified and approved of at certain times, but it does also say the drunkard and the glutton will come to poverty being clothed with rags, so you wouldn't want to do that. So, I mean, there's a limit to the level of intoxication that you can have. I mean, you could think for yourself, even God himself has a drink that he drinks, and that drink is intoxicating, and it fills him with furious anger and rage and wrath, so that is a drink that God can take that's a strong drink, himself. You wouldn't want to have any result of that. That would not be good. And even the righteous and the angels probably have a beverage that they take, which is, obviously spiritual in nature, which in many cases is just the wine of the wrath of God, which they partake of themselves to punish the nations. What is with this drunk in the spirit stuff then? I try to think to myself, like, what are they doing? What are they doing? Are demons injecting like Heidi Baker with PCP and alcohol and a little something here, a little something there, some ketamine? What are they doing to Heidi Baker? I mean, is it you know what I mean? They secretly inject her with stuff. I mean, she's like flailing around like some drunk all over the place, making a complete slob of herself in front of the congregation. I mean, what in the world? Yes, alcohol is sanctified. It's holy. Your body actually produces it in the gut to varying degrees. It varies per individual, but generally it can be a lot, in some cases, of alcohol produced naturally in your body. So then, if that's the case, it probably should be there if it's natural. And too much, though, like Proverbs says, you'll see strange sights and you wake up with bruises and not know who hit you or anything. So you don't want to have that situation. So drunkenness is clearly forbidden, except maybe at a wedding, or at a funeral. Or, when you're mourning terribly for the loss of a loved one, maybe that's a good time to take it. Not too much. But, there's obviously a time for everything, right? There's even a time to kill. There's a time to heal, a time to kill, a time for war, and a time for peace. So you better figure out what time it is and not deviate. Because God is a God of absolute perfect timing to the level that you would never even believe that it could go that far. But trust me. So doing things at the proper time is extremely important. That you feast for strength and not for drunkenness. Because there are people who have done quite the opposite. So there's some important considerations when it comes to taking alcohol or strong beverages or strong drink. Like a Monster energy drink, is that a strong drink? Well, absolutely it is. You can try combining like a bunch of those with some alcohol and see if it completely counteracts the effects of the alcohol. I'm pretty sure it would. So if that can do that, that a Monster energy drink or these energy drinks, that's a pretty strong drug right there. That's not something to wink at, So does God want you putting lots of that in your body? Well, but that's just caffeine, some guarana and taurine, whatever they put in there, it's all right. Is it affecting your judgment in your mind? Is it causing anxiety? A Monster energy drink can cause pretty severe anxiety in some people, I imagine, among other things. Here's the thing. God does not approve of anxiety. If you have anxiety, you really need to fix it, doing everything in your power to fix that right away. Here's the reason. When you have anxiety for whatever reason, you cannot think clearly to judge wisely and accurately. Now, God is a perfectly just and righteous judge. He does not deviate in his judgments, but we are called to do the same thing and judge wisely and righteously through the wisdom of God. How can you do that if you're filled with anxiety? You can't. Likewise, on the flip side, if you're drunk with wine, you can't judge either. So really, the right time to drink wine is right before you go to bed, or maybe before you make love with your wife, or the proper time. Okay, so intoxicating drinks like energy drinks or the opposite, alcoholic beverages. Either extreme is not really okay at just any old time. There's a proper time for those things, but not just at any old time. Because like I said, too much stimulation, and you cannot think clearly enough due to the anxiety to be able to judge wisely different situations and make good and powerful and accurate decisions. See, God always wants you to make the best decisions in life, to be a wise judge and righteous judge as He is, to be like God is, to imitate Him. So if you cannot think clearly enough free of anxiety to make good decisions, then you have a problem. You need to do something to fix the situation immediately, because everything in your life will be determined by those choices that you make. If you can't make good and sober and calm decisions, you cannot make decisions at all in God's mind. It's not even possible. He won't even bless that. It's like you have to do what you can that's within your power. So if you have like some kind of sedatives or anti-anxiety drug you can take during a period of anxiety where you need to make an important decision, you need to take advantage of that like right away, and don't even ask too many questions, because you're doing the right and responsible thing. Likewise, if you have alcoholic beverages, that would cause intoxication, you don't want to be sedated and out of your mind and then trying to make really important judgments and decisions about things in life. See, God is a God of order and perfect order. He doesn't do things at the wrong time. Everything must be done in its proper order. So there's a time for that, but there's also a time to be very sober and calm, not anxious, not overstimulated, but calm and sober, so that you can think, clearly enough to make good and solid decisions that can possibly determine the course of the rest of your life and the lives of others as well. Just consider the calling for us to be rulers and kings and princes and stuff like that, and high priests or priests, kingdom of priests, and is that a lightweight calling? And for us to be wise judges as well, and to have our own things that we rule over in the end. If that's the calling, you need to learn how to use the resources that are at your disposal wisely, so that you can have a calm, sober state of mind that is not overstimulated, but is not sedated either heavily, because either of those extremes you cannot judge wisely and righteously through the wisdom of God so much anymore. It becomes an issue. So recognize what time it is, pray about it, ask for some wisdom that is logical from God to understand, well, what's the right time to do this, or what's the right time to do that. Obviously, it's the wrong time to do just about anything. So if you understand the right time to do things, then you start walking in the power of God a lot more, and with God's blessing upon you, and good things will just start happening. It's Torah observance. It's observance to the proper instructions for living. If you understand that to a good extent, you ought to live by them and walk in them constantly. Anyway, it's just some of my thoughts for the moment about what is the deal with alcohol and, what is this drunkenness in the spirit nonsense? People get drunk in the spirit. Supposedly the Spirit of God is making certain factions of Christians, making them drunk or stoned or intoxicated with something else, or stimulated with sniffing Bible verses with John Crowder or stuff like that. What is this stuff? What are the demons doing? Are they just injecting them with little bits of cocaine and heroin and they injecting them secretly behind their backs with PCP and a bunch of alcohol? What are they doing? You don't want this. You don't want to have anything to do with it. It's total nonsense from hell. These demons just play games. But you want to get high? I'll explain you how to do it. You want to get high? You go find your local drug dealer. Okay, he's probably not such a bad guy. If you just got to kind of be careful, and do what you got to do. Get a little something, get it going on. Trust me, in Judgment Day, you'll be far better off having done that than getting drunk in the spirit. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if you're tempted to go after some kind of spiritual drunkenness, literally, just go have a glass of wine or as many as you need to bail yourself out of that situation. You do not want to go anywhere near that. You're getting drunk in the spirit. The only time that you ever find in the Old Testament where people get drunk in that way, spiritually drunk, is when they're filled with the anger and wrath of God. And they stumble and they fall back and they stagger and they're taken. Entire nations would collapse from the wrath of God's anger and the wine of his indignation. So if you think about that context, that might not be a good idea to get too close to that kind of thing. It's a complete mockery against the Most High God and what that kind of drunkenness actually means. Now, of course, if you read Song of Songs, you recognize, well, there's another kind of wine that is very romantic and has to do with love relationships. It may be in a divine capacity as well. There's a time for that too. So don't be confused. There's obviously a time to enjoy a glass of wine over dinner. It even helps digestion or whatever, or before making love or something like that with your wife or whatever. There's obviously a time to do the same thing there, and things like that. But just be very careful with the time, and be super careful with this drunkenness in the spirit nonsense or intoxication in the spirit. Why would you want? Why would God make marijuana? Why would he make alcohol? Why would he make all these things, these different substances and plants and herbs and things that can get you high or get you drunk or whatever, intoxicated in the first place, if he was just going to make you directly drunk in the spirit? It's well, I made these things for no purpose at all. They're not for you to enjoy in all of eternity. They're just there to tempt you and to stumble. No. See, if you got drunk in the spirit, why wouldn't you do that all the time? It's free, and you don't even get a hangover, right? You might as well do that constantly. So all of a sudden, the responsibility of drinking alcohol responsibly is gone, and the fruit of the vine is completely pointless and null and void, and God made it for no reason at all, because now you're just drunk in the spirit. Why would God do that? Why would he make grapes and the fruit of the vine for no reason? Or marijuana or cannabis or whatever, he made it for no purpose? Now you're getting stoned in the spirit. Well, there's no purpose for this stuff to exist. God made a mistake. He made it for no reason. So this is totally demonic. That's another reason you can know. Or whatever else other kind of spiritual intoxication these new apostolic type churches are espousing. These more mystical Christians, some of them, they, I don't know, stoned in the spirit or high in the spirit, or getting coked out in the spirit, or what do they do? Snorting Bible verses, things that this. You see where this stuff is headed? You're destroying the work of God by saying that the creation that God made is not complete, and that he's in need of something better, like a new covenant or some nonsense to supersede like these physical plants and herbs and substances that do exist in nature. They're completely made null and void by these new spiritual highs. It's like, at that rate, you might as well ditch your physical body completely, become a spirit being who doesn't even need to eat or drink, and like just leave the earth altogether, don't have anything to do with it. I mean, so just kind of think about a few of these things. These are a few of my thoughts for the moment. Anyway, you guys have a good day.